Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to CoachX Conversations from the Institute of Coaching. My name is Jeff Hull. I am the Executive Director at the Institute of Coaching, and I am really happy to have you here with me today. So from wherever you are, please take a minute in the comments section and say hello. I know it always takes a minute for these things to pop up, but we love to see where people are coming from and try to get to your questions during the next half hour. So I am thrilled to be here with a dear friend of the Institute and of myself, Eddie Turner. I'm also a little intimidated because I get to talk to a global guru today. It's not every day that I get to do that. So we are really excited to have Eddie with us today to talk about purposeful leadership and his role in bringing that to the world. So hi, Eddie, how are you doing?
Jeff, hi, how are you? Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. I'm excited to have this conversation. I want to give everyone a little bit of background on you, although I know you're fairly well known, but there may be people here who don't know you well. So let me just give a little bit of background on Eddie. Not only is he on the top 30 list of motivational speakers and global gurus, but he is an in-demand leadership development expert, an executive coach, and recently became a principal consultant and executive coach at Linkage, the boutique international leadership development firm, which I'm sure he's going to tell us all about. He has been recognized in Forbes as one of the preeminent authorities on emerging leaders. He's ranked number 18 on the top 25 thought leaders by Thinkers 360, number 32 on the power list of the top 200 biggest voices in leadership to watch in 2022. He's been in incredible numbers of newspapers and media, CNN, Fox, PBS, NPR, pretty much any media you can think of, you'll see his expert wisdom on leadership development and coaching. He's also one of Marshall Goldsmith's top 100 coaches. And last but not least, I have to mention that he is one of the fellows with the Institute of Coaching and a dear friend of us at the Institute of Coaching. So I'm really excited to have you here, and I have a long list of questions in my mind. But I think probably the best place to get started, Eddie, is with this exciting new role that you have. So tell us about that, how it came to be, and what you're hoping to do at Linkage.
I'm delighted to, Jeff. And thanks again for having me. I was excited to come talk to my friend, Jeff Hull. And then you recently became the executive director of the Institute of Coaching. And I was just thrilled to hear that. I love this organization. And I know it's just been in good hands already. And I can't wait to see what you do. So congratulations to you as well.
Thank you. It's a team effort. I'm just one of the team, but we're taking it to the next level.
Indeed. Well, I got an invitation from an amazing woman. The CEO of Linkage is Jennifer McCullum, and she too is a member of Marshall Goldsmith's 100 Coaches family, as you are. And she invited me to come join her and the great people at Linkage to help change the face of leadership. And when she made that offer to me, I was excited because I am passionate about leadership and passionate about leadership development. And to hear what I thought was a tagline like that, I said, how could I say no? I later learned that I was wrong in calling it a tagline. Linkage's mission is to change the face of leadership. It's the reason the company exists. And so that is far beyond just a saying. It's at the core foundation of who we are as a company. So I'm just thrilled to be a part of Linkage for that reason. And it's been about 6 months that I've been with the firm.
And this idea of purposeful leadership, was that something that you helped create, or was that something that Linkage was already deeply involved in?
No, sir, not at all. I can't say that I had any role in creating it. So purposeful leadership came about because Linkage had been around for 30 years. And during that 30 years, Linkage had been using the most popular thought leadership around leadership development that was available at the time. And then around 2010 or so, a gentleman named Mark Hannum Mark Hannum, who is the Chief Research Officer Emeritus at Linkage, he started to explore the idea that we needed to freshen up the leadership thinking that Linkage was delivering to clients. Linkage had worked with over 1 million leaders around the world at the top
Wow.
firms, the top Fortune 1000 around the world. And he said, we need to freshen up our approach to leadership, even though we're using outstanding leadership as a base. And
Okay.
so he pushed that through the company, but it really took off around 2015 or so when we got a new CEO, and he gave Mark the funding that he needed to put together a team. And that team went out and did research, crawled through all of the assessments Linkage had been delivering to clients, over 100,000 assessments. That, combined with new research, combined with new case studies inside of organizations, led to the Purposeful Leadership model. And
Okay.
Mark codified that in his book, Become, the 5 commitments of
Oh,
purposeful
okay.
leadership.
Awesome.
And so that is what Linkage offers now to clients as the primary thought leadership that we offer to organizations. And so Mark Hannum, when I joined the firm, I said, Mark, I went through training. I went through the assessments. I've studied it, but I want to hear from you. And so Mark was kind enough to take me under his wing and teach me the foundations of the model. And I'll just share that model, what that looks like with you very briefly here on the screen. The 5 commitments are become, who we are at the center as a leader. Then inspire, engage, innovate, and achieve. There's a lot of depth that goes through all those, but this essentially is our framework for how to develop leaders and how to be an effective leader yourself.
That's awesome. And in what context do they work on these? These are with training programs or coaching programs?
Both. So this is available as an online or an in-person series of leadership development training that we offer to clients, but
Mm-hmm.
it is also paired with an assessment, the Purposeful Leadership Assessment. And so leaders are benchmarked as to how purposeful they are, how intentional they are as a leader. And it is about a 55-page report that they receive. So they're issued
Wow.
that. They take the training program, but they also have the opportunity to receive coaching one-on-one as to how they can improve and applying the framework to become a purposeful leader.
And then in your role, what are you taking on as in this new principal activity that you're doing for them?
As a principal consultant at Linkage, I have the honor of being one of the people that helps deliver this development solution to clients. I participate in the coaching. I participate in the assessments using this curriculum. But Linkage is also known for our work around advancing women leaders. It's one of our biggest and perhaps most popular
Wow. Okay.
programs, especially the Women in Leadership Institute, which has run for about 23 years, if I'm not mistaken, consecutively. And this most recent one that I had a chance to attend, my first one in November of 2021, attracted about 4,000 women around the globe. We had about 400 in person on site in Orlando, and the others dialed in remotely and participated in a design learning program throughout the week. We also offer programs for inclusive leadership. And so we offer the opportunity for leaders to learn how to become more inclusive. In fact, we have a special program that starts next month that we're really excited about, because in our model that I showed, the circle that was going around was about inclusion. And we fundamentally have discovered from our research at Linkage that it's more than just a set of behaviors around leadership, but you can't separate inclusion out. Sometimes people separate that part out. It is fundamental to being a great leader.
Say more about that. I'm really curious. I mean, you've been an executive coach for many, many years. And I know that the evolution of leadership effectiveness has moved, from strategy, vision, directive, visionary, all of those wonderful euphemisms that those of us that have been coaching for many years are used to, towards belonging, psychological safety, diversity, and inclusion. When you work with clients, what do you consider to be the key attributes or the key transformations that need to happen in order for them to move toward that more inclusive, purposeful approach?
That's a really good question, Jeff. One of the things that I'd say is really the title of the program that we have coming up. We call it Superpowers and Symphony, the heart of inclusion. In other
Mm,
words, we believe the thought leadership of Ashoke Abalu, who we've partnered with on this content, that leadership is the inclusive leadership is not something you can really legislate. We can't force you to be an
right,
inclusive leader.
right,
It
yeah,
has to come from the heart. So the program that we have designed, it transforms people starting with their language. Brian Tracy said, what you talk about, you bring about.
yep,
So we realize we have to help people change their language, which then leads to changing their thinking, which will change their behavior. And so our program is designed to allow people to become more inclusive, truly from the heart. The other thing that's driving it, this need, is that, as you know, there's the compliance component. We don't want to get sued, but then also
right,
businesses are realizing this is just the best thing. They're demanding it. The state of California, for example, the SB, I forget which specific bill, but they passed a bill that says if you are a public company, you must have at least 2 diverse candidates on your board. Otherwise, you won't get funding. Goldman Sachs, in 2020, they said we will no longer take a company public unless you have at least one diverse candidate, one diverse member, rather, not a candidate, on that board. And in 2021, July 2021, they went a step further. They said you have to have at least 2 before we'll take your company public, and
wow.
one of the 2 must be a woman. So companies are demanding it. People don't want to get sued, and those are good things. But we
Yeah,
want people to do it from the heart.
I think they're good things. I think it's unfortunate that it has to be a compliance kind of issue. I mean,
Yes,
to my mind, and you and I have talked about this directly and in our writings, it's really about leveraging and the diversity of the talent, right? You don't want to leave anyone out of the mix because you never know where that incredible, creative, innovative thought is going to come from. The next great idea could come from your least likely place. So, involving everyone in the opportunity to be innovative and be creative in your environment is a competitive advantage, I would think.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Say more about From the Heart. I have a question here from Dr. Zareen Karani, who says, interested to know what you mean when you say inclusion from the heart.
Inclusion from the heart, meaning who we are on the inside, meaning that it's not because it's forced or it's compelled. We have developed the core skill of empathy,
Right.
feeling for another person, and emotional intelligence. In fact, there's another great leadership framework that I like to point to sometimes. You may know the author of this book here.
People are going to think that I prompted you to do that. But thank you.
But no, this great book, Flex. So emotional intelligence. Who are we on the inside,
Right.
and then can we tell how we are coming across to others on the inside? Others by how they are, and perceive that and flex our personality accordingly. And
Right.
so what we're saying with this is it just has to go beyond I'm forced to do it. I'm only going to hire this person because they made me do it in HR. No, I actually fundamentally understand that homogenous teams are outperformed every time by diverse teams. And we make better business decisions, have better outcomes as a result of being diverse. We have
Absolutely.
an entire white paper that we published on this at Linkage that's available to anyone if they visit the website in my signature here, linkageinc.com.
That's great. Well, it's exciting to hear that you're excited to go back into, I guess, what would be considered an organizational setting after being a very successful executive coach with a top podcast. I mean, you probably didn't feel like you needed to do that, but it sounds like you're very aligned with what Linkage is trying to accomplish. So it's really exciting.
Jeff, no, you're right. It was not easy for me initially, the thought of giving up my independence. But if I'm gonna give it up, I want to do it at a place that has the values that are married to mine, the work that I'm doing, and then it didn't hurt that I had a friend, in Jennifer, who I felt I could trust. And if I'm going to place a bet, I'm going to place it on that relationship. And so, at coming in, I wasn't necessarily 100% sure, but 6 months later, I can tell you I absolutely made the right decision,
That's
and
great.
I absolutely love the work that I'm doing.
So tell me, what do you think is key going forward when you think about what Linkage is trying to accomplish and what you're trying to do? What is key to succeeding in today's world as a leader?
the key to succeeding as a leader is continuing to grow and develop. And I think that Linkage set the example by saying, hey, we're not going to just stick with what works and say just because it's not broke, we aren't going to fix it.
Right.
I love Mark's thinking that we need to kind of freshen things up a little bit. We've been using this for a while. There must be something new. Everybody, I'm a new father. And so
Oh, congratulations, by the way. It's
thank
awesome.
you. It's interesting to see what happens with the maturation of a child. They're going to grow and develop no matter what we do. But leadership development is not that way. People can not only stay the same, but they actually atrophy, right?
Yeah,
if you're
become
not
stagnant,
constantly growing. Right? Yes. So you must continue to force yourself to grow as an individual and as organizations if you want to be an effective leader.
Very true. I also know from having worked with you that you are very committed to being a mentor and have been involved with a number of different mentoring programs for the next generation of leaders. And I'm curious, what are you finding is the most challenging thing that the next generation, up and coming young people are running into, where they look to you for support?
I love mentoring because I love giving back what was given to me. And I didn't have mentors initially, but eventually I found a mentor that changed my life, Bob Dean. Later on, people like Sally Huggleson, Eileen Dowse, and others took me under their wing. So I give that back. I think the biggest thing that young people need is that person that helps them believe in themselves long enough until they can kind of come along and believe in them as well. And so sometimes when someone who's more experienced has that belief in them, it bolsters their spirit that they can do whatever that may be. To that end, quite frankly, the purposeful leadership model, we use it at Linkage for leadership development, but I started to look at it through the lens of as a coach. And I'm applying every step of that framework to my coaching to be more purposeful. And so I use that when I am mentoring. To be more inspiring and help that young person to see what future is possible for themselves, to be more engaging, because I can't do it for you. You've got to do it. Right. And then being innovative, testing what's possible, thinking outside of the box so that they can then achieve things that they would have been beyond their wildest imagination.
Right. I love that. Do you have a secret coaching question or secret sauce that you use to help younger folks develop their sense of purpose or get in touch with what their purpose really is?
I don't know that I could say I have a secret sauce other than I just show up and really care. I just care and I try to show that I care. And so I think that has gone a long way. And I love seeing the young people who then write me notes and tell me things that specific that I said or did that helped them transform. This one gentleman, I had the privilege of coaching him. He was new to the country, and he had come from China and 2,000 miles away from his parents, never been in this country before. And we had an amazing 6 months together as coach and coachee. And the things he was able to accomplish during those 6 months were phenomenal and transformed his life. I saw him 4 years later as he was leaving the university. And he's just doing phenomenal things now. He has accepted a job at a major tech firm on the West Coast. And I saw a post from him the other day about just what he's doing now a year later. So he's just one example of an individual who I've had the great pleasure of seeing the power of showing up and caring, pouring into a young person, mentoring them along the way, and seeing the great results later on.
Oh, beautifully said. I mean, you're just reminding me the research that's been done, Richard Biatsis and others that have done real deep studies, and even the neuroscience of coaching with compassion. It's really that place where we create a sense of safety for the person you're mentoring or coaching so that they can deeply dive into their heart and into that space of discovering what is their purpose? Why are they here? What brings meaning and value to their lives? So I love that. I'd love to, in the last few minutes, I'd love to put you on the spot for a second. Would you mind?
Uh-oh.
No, I say that jokingly, but seriously, I think it's Black History Month, and I think you are an incredible role model for success, executive coaching in the media. You know, you are a guru, as they say, literally and figuratively. And I think it'd be great to share a little bit of your story. Like, what obstacles did you overcome? How did you get to be where you are, I guess, is the core question.
I got to be where I am because of other people believing in me and seeing my value. It's interesting. I said to someone the other day, this shocked them, but it's true. I never had the opportunity to serve in a formal leadership position when I was in corporate America. But informally, I was always leading. And that is what made me passionate about leadership, because I always felt that leadership was beyond just a title. I just didn't have a language for it until I went to Harvard and met Dr. Ron Heifetz. Along the way, Northwestern, where I went back as an adult and got my degree, because I was an IT professional at first. I didn't have a degree for the first 15 years of my career. And so I got it at night at Northwestern. And
so you're a closet techie.
I am. I'm a geek at heart.
That's great.
Yes.
Wonderful.
And so that put me on the path that I am. And so I understand firsthand the power that happens when someone believes in you and takes a chance on you and then pours themselves into you. And I don't take that lightly. And I always feel obligated to pay that back to the person, right? But then also to other people and give them what I received.
Beautifully said. Yeah. No, it's interesting to hear a little bit of your story, because I would never have known that you were a technology. You know, I mean, you certainly don't come across as a geek. You definitely moved out of that space.
Thank you, Joe.
Oh, that's really great. I'm also curious for you to do some reflecting for us on this intersection of the senior folks that you coach and then the younger folks that you coach. Because I often hear, you know, the millennials frustrated with the boomers and the boomers frustrated with the millennials. And you're one of those folks who's actually in both spaces, right? You're mentoring young leaders as they come up through Linkage, through your mentoring programs. You're also working with senior executives as an executive coach. What do you think it takes to bridge that gap, to get the leverage so that the senior folks, those of us that have been around a while, really get to leverage the talent of the next generation?
I fundamentally believe that coaching is the key to helping everyone at every level. So I'm passionate about helping young people because of what I experienced and what I wish I had sooner in my life. So that's why I spent 4 years coaching at Rice University. I still coach at Texas A&M, investing in the future leaders of America. I just love it. But I love it working with the senior executives. There is a difference. At Rice, one of the things we saw is sometimes you could have someone who's a great coach with executives, but not necessarily be great with the young people. So it is a fine line and it is a balancing act. But I think that at the end of the day, the tools are the same. But when working with executives, obviously, your life's work comes more into play, your perspective, but also for young people who are trying to, especially at the MBA level, look at who they are going to be as they complete their studies. It really comes in very handy. So caring, being authentic, but then also obviously being competent. So continuing to invest in myself as a coach, developing myself as a coach by being a part of the offerings at the Institute of Coaching, the plethora of research that's been made available to help coaches with the science of coaching to continue to advance and develop, and not resting on my laurels about things I learned years ago. That has certainly been a big role. And then other conferences, such as the conference I attended there with you and others at the Institute of Coaching, and the wonderful retreat that I'll never forget, where we just pour into each other and learn and trade notes to continue to make each other better. And as we get better, we then have something to take to clients.
Well said. There's a question that kind of follows on from this, coming from one of our listeners, Joe Royce, who's asking, do you think that leaders, and I'm going to add senior leaders in particular, need to unlearn or unthink, as Adam Grant says, in order to be more effective with the next generation, to learn humility, curiosity, and sort of get out of their box, I guess is the question.
In many ways, I would say the answer is yes. And I go
Yeah,
back to you have great stories in your book, which is why I pointed to it. Because for anyone who's trying to figure out, especially new to coaching, your stories are really compelling. So there's a way that that leaders used to lead. You tell the story about a one leader who was so strict and hard, and nobody
right.
ever saw him be nice, even smile. But
That's
at
true.
the funeral, oh my gosh, he gave the speech of a lifetime. You said his finest leadership moment, and you thought maybe he had turned the corner, but he went right back after it was over. And that's what happens. So many leaders from a different time felt that you had to be hard and tough and mean. And that's what leadership is. That's what we applaud. That's what we reward. But the newer generation is saying, no, we want to see
Mm.
more vulnerability. We want to see more empathy. All those words that were considered dirty words a long time ago,
Or
because
soft
that's what
skills
they
that weren't
respond to.
important, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
The new face of leadership is very, very different. So for many leaders, it requires new learning.
Yeah, so it's unthinking or sort of learning new narratives, so to speak, I guess.
Mhm.
Right. So, what are your dreams for what you hope to accomplish with this new role? And is there anything else new on the horizon? I know you're podcaster, writer. What are your visions for your future?
Right now, my future is just consisting on really making the biggest impact I can make at Linkage. I had a great independent business, which is why it was kind of hard to, when I think about what it took to start it and then to end it, right? But to have a bigger impact on more clients around the globe. The reach that I have now is not something I could have done on my own. So every day I wake up excited because I know I'm going to work with some incredible leaders. And it's just, it just doesn't get any better than that, because every time you make a difference in someone's life, to me, that's just the biggest reward. That's what I live for. That's my purpose. I loved what I did in IT. I always said I never had a job because I would do it for free. I really loved what I did. And I feel the same way about leadership development. It doesn't feel like work because I just absolutely love helping another person go from version 1.0 to version 2.0 of themselves.
It's great. I mean, you are an inspiration, and I'd love for you to leave us with some inspiring thoughts for coaches who want to be as successful as someone like yourself. What would you say to the coach world in terms of what they need to do to step up their coaching, to build their business, to be as successful as someone like yourself?
Well, I say similar to what I said earlier. Keep growing, keep learning. We can't get complacent. As coaches, we task our clients with growing. And sometimes we may not take our own advice. So we need to continue to uh, be a member of the international of the Institute of Coaching. We need to continue to read the white papers that are released, attend the conferences, attend the webinars and the like this and other sessions. Grow, put in new learning, because we're always giving out, but at some point we have to fill up. Otherwise, we're running on fumes. We're running on empty.
So that's great because it leads me to the last question, which is what do you do, Eddie, to make sure you're always filled up? How do you take care of yourself? What is your magic formula for staying tip top as a coach and as a leadership expert?
Association. So always learning, but then always being around other people that are much better than me, like yourself, like
Oh, I don't
Jennifer,
know about that.
people that challenge me, people that help me think different. And then from a physical routine, really, I had fallen out of an exercise program, keeping up on exercise. I don't necessarily do as good with my sleep as I should. I should do more sleeping. But my daughter has changed my life. So spending as much time with her keeps me grounded, keeps me humble as I continue to learn every day something new from her. And she keeps me laughing because it's just the least thing that I'd expect. Things that I just have kind of seen or heard anecdotally on TV or something, to live it as a father for the first time, uh, it's just priceless.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, talk about a different kind of leadership, right?
Indeed.
That's diving into the real life leader role, whether you like it or not, right?
Yes.
That's great. Well, congratulations. I am like so excited that you and I got to do this. And I find your story and the work that Linkage is doing around purposeful leadership to be incredibly inspiring. So we are honored at the Institute of Coaching to have you as one of our thought leaders. I hope you will come back in the near future and maybe do a webinar for us around the purposeful leadership model, because I think people would love to dig into that. Would you be up for that?
Absolutely.
Great. Then stay tuned, everyone. Go to our website, instituteofcoaching.org, and we will be posting as soon as we can find time in Eddie's busy schedule to get him for a longer, deeper dive. But for now, I just want to thank everyone for joining us, and thank you, Eddie, again for taking the time, and say best of luck with fatherhood and with your new role. And we will be seeing you soon.
Thanks again for having me.
Take care.